3. Mahatma leads to freedom. After fighting for the rights of the Indians and the Negroes in South Africa for nearly 20 years, Gandhiji returned to India in 1915. He founded the Sabarmati Ashram on the banks of the river Sabarmati in Gujarat. He started preaching the two principles of truth and non-violence, or ahimsa. Later, he travelled many parts of the country to find out the conditions of the people. He was deeply moved by the conditions of the people and organized satyagrahas at Champaran, Kheda and Ahmedabad, and solved the problems and won the love and affection of the people. It is at this time he emerged as a leader. Rowlatt Act. The British government in 1919 passed the cruel Rowlatt Act. It was an act prepared by Rowlatt. Under this act, anybody could be arrested without a warrant, and he could be left in the prison for any longer period without any trial. The possession of an incriminating document was also an offense. Gandhiji gave a call to his followers to oppose the Rowlatt Act. Gandhi followed the method of satyagraha as an attack against the Rowlatt Act. This was the weapon adopted by Gandhiji to show his discontentment against the British. He wanted the people to fast on the day of satyagraha and hold peaceful meetings to express their views. Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. On 13th April 1919, a big meeting was held at Jallianwala Bagh near Amritsar in Punjab, where there was about 20,000 people. The meeting was held to protest against the Rowlatt Act. General Dyer, the British military commander, did not like it and marched with his troops to the meeting ground and blocked out all the entrances and left out only one exit and ordered his men to shoot. It was the most inhumane act. More than 400 people were killed and many more were wounded. This was called as the Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. The massacre of the people at Jallianwala Bagh made the Indians very angry and increased their desire to fight for the freedom of the country. Non-cooperation movement. Bal Gangadhar Tilak was died in 1920, and it was then the Gandhiji became the supreme leader of the Congress. In 1920, under his leadership, the Congress started the non-cooperation movement against the British for achieving freedom. Many enthusiastic people joined the movement. Some of them resigned to their government services, while others gave up their law practice and joined the freedom movement. Motilal Nehru, father of Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, C. Raja Gopalachari, C. R. Das, and T. Prakasham were some of them who participated in it. They boycotted all the government schools, colleges, British goods, etc. They also burnt the British cloth. Both the Hindus and Muslims participated unitedly in it. At one time, it appeared that the British government was on the verge of collapse, and at that time, unfortunate Chowri Chowra incident took place. The Chowri Chowra incident. This incident took place in 1922. The people of Chowri Chowra in Gorakhpur district of Uttar Pradesh became angry with the behavior of the policeman. The people marched into the police station and burned 22 police alive. This act of the people was disliked by Gandhiji. He wanted the movement to go peacefully without any bloodshed. So, when there was mob violence, he became angry and called off the non-cooperation movement. At this time, Gandhiji was arrested. After his release, he concentrated on constructive work rather than on active politics. Constructive work. Gandhiji then stopped all the activities and started constructive work for the upliftment of untouchables, that is, Harijans and Khadi weaving. He said the practice of untouchability should go. He went to villages and lived with Harijans to end the injustice and inequality from which they suffered. He always had a charaka, spinning wheel, with him. For him, the charaka was the symbol of India's freedom. He used to spin the yarn and weave the clothes. The cloth was called as khadi. Gandhiji now devoted his time to popularize khadi. From 1922 to 1928, the political activity was calm and rose out suddenly with the setting up of Simon Commission. Simon Commission. Simon go back. In 1928, the British sent a commission from England to India in order to recommend some new political reforms to be introduced in India. This commission was called as Simon Commission as it was headed by Sir John Simon. It consisted of 7 members. The members were all Englishmen and there was not even one Indian member. So, the Indians decided to oppose it. The Congress decided that the people should express their discontent by conducting demonstrations against the commission. So, wherever the commission went, the people shouted, "Simon, go back," and put on black flags. The government tried to put down the demonstrations by lathi charge, and as a result of it, Lala Lajpati Rai was seriously injured and died. The Lahore Session 1929. The Congress held another session in 1929 at Lahore. This was significant because during that session the resolution of complete independence or Purna Swaraj was passed as it was the goal of the Indians. Jawaharlal Nehru presided over this Lahore Congress. It was decided that the civil disobedience movement would be launched on 26 January and it should be observed as Independence Day every year. From 1930, 26 January was celebrated as Independence Day. After India got independence, 26 January was celebrated as Republic Day, as it was the day in 1950 when the Constitution was adopted. Civil disobedience movement, Dandi March. After the resolution of the Lahore session, Gandhiji started the civil disobedience movement in 1930. An attractive feature of the movement was all the people unitedly violated the laws of the British government which were causing hardships to them. One of the laws was the salt law that prohibited the people from making the salt. Gandhiji with his followers marched from Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad to Dandi, a village near Surat, which lasted for 25 days. Gandhiji covered a distance of 300 kilometers during the march. The march inspired the people and Gandhiji was greeted by thousands of people on his way. The Dandi March was started on 12th March 1930 and finally ended on 5th of April. On the 6th, Gandhiji broke the salt law and made the salt. The movement spread to all parts of the country. The leaders of this movement were Khan Abdul Jafar Khan, known as Frontier Gandhi, in the northwest, Sri Rajagopalachari in the south, Rani Gaidinliu of Nagaland in the northeast, and T. Prakasham. Women also participated in the movement. The movement paralyzed the government for some time and gradually subsided. Quit India Movement 1942. The Second World War was begun in 1939. During the war, Japan occupied most of Asia. Gandhiji thought that it was the right time and demanded self-government. But the British government did not respond to it favorably. So, Gandhiji launched the Quit India Movement in 1942 and asked the Britishers to quit India. Gandhiji at this movement gave the message of do or die to the Indians. It meant either they should achieve freedom or die for it. Immediately Gandhiji and other national leaders were arrested and imprisoned. There were many demonstrations against the arrest of the leaders. Many of the demonstrators were put in prison. Some of them were killed while the others were injured in the police firings. This Quit India movement sent shock nerves to the British government in India. It revealed that the British would leave India free. This movement brought India's freedom nearer. Before the Quit India movement, some revolutionists tried to overthrow the foreign government. Some of the revolutionists were Alluri Sitarama Raju, Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Sukhdev, Rajguru and Atafa Khan. In Andhra, Alluri Sitarama Raju waged a war against them from 1922 to 1924 and he was finally shot dead by the British. Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru were brave and patriotic revolutionists. They were ready to die for the sake of the country. The three were hanged on 23rd March 1931. Subhash Chandra Bose. During the Quit India movement, Subhash Chandra Bose escaped from prison and went away to Germany and then to Japan. His plan was to achieve freedom by taking the help of Japan and Germany. In 1943, he started the Indian National Army, INA, or the Azad Hind Fauj. Hindus, Muslims and Sikhs joined the INA. They marched towards India to fight against the British with the slogans Delhi Chalo, and Jai Hind. The INA could reach up to the borders of India. Many people expected that the INA would succeed against the British and get the freedom. Finally, the British won over the INA. Though it was not successful, it roused the patriotic spirit of the Indians. The Britishers then realized that they could not hold India any longer. Partition and independence. After the Second World War, the British decided to leave India. Their policy was to divide the Hindus and the Muslims in the country. As a result of it, there was a demand for a separate country for Muslims known as Pakistan, which means Holy Land. The demand was opposed by the Congress. Finally, the British left the country by dividing the country into Indian Union and Pakistan. On 15th August 1947, the Indian flag was hoisted on the Red Fort at Delhi, marking an end to the British rule in India. The 30-year-long struggle of Mahatma Gandhi brought the fruit of independence. He led us to the path of independence by his truth and non-violence. The only way to show our love towards the great soul is by following the ideals for which he stood. Let's revise the important points. 1. The Rowlatt Act was that a person can be arrested without any warrant and can be confined to prison for a long time without any trial. 2. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place in 1919. General Dyer was responsible for it. 3. Gandhiji started non-cooperation movement in 1920. The people boycotted foreign goods and started to use Swadeshi goods. 4. The Chowri Chowra incident took place in 1922. An angry mob burnt a police station with 22 policemen in it. 5. India finally achieved independence on 15th August 1947 with the division of the country into Indian Union and Pakistan. Do these. 1. Answer the following questions. Conceptual understanding. 1. What is Rowlatt Act? Answer. The British government in 1919 passed the cruel Rowlatt Act. Under this act, anybody could be arrested without a warrant and he could be left in the prison for any longer period without any trial. The possession of an incriminating document was also an offence under Rowlatt Act. 2. Write a few lines on non-cooperation movement. Answer. In 1920, under Gandhiji's leadership, the Congress started the non-cooperation movement against the British for achieving freedom. Motilal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, T. Raja Gopalachari, C. R. Das, and T. Prakasham were participated in it. They boycotted all the government schools, colleges, British goods, etc. 3. What is the constructive work done by Gandhiji between 1922 to 28? Answer. During the non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji was arrested. After his release, he concentrated on constructive work for the upliftment of untouchables, that is, Harijans, and Khadi weaving. He went to villages and lived with Harijans to end the injustice and inequality from which they suffered. He used to spin the yarn and weave the clothes. The cloth was called as khadi. 4. Write a note on civil disobedience movement. Answer. Gandhiji started the civil disobedience movement in 1930. An attractive feature of the movement was all the people unitedly violated the laws of the British government. One of the laws was the salt law. Gandhiji marched from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. On the 6th March 1930 in Dandi village, Gandhiji broke the salt law and made the salt. The leaders of this movement were Khan Abdul Jafar Khan, Siraja Gopalachari, Rani Gaiden Liu, and T. Prakasham. The movement paralyzed the government for some time and gradually subsided. 5. Write a few lines about Subhash Chandra Bose. Answer. During the Quit India movement, Subhash Chandra Bose escaped from prison and went away to Germany and then to Japan. In 1943, he started the Indian National Army, INA, or the Azad Hind Fauj. They marched towards India to fight against the British. The INA could reach up to the borders of India. Finally, the British won over the INA. 2. Fill in the blanks. Conceptual understanding. Three. State whether the statements are true or false. Conceptual understanding. You have won! For project work, ask the students to collect the pictures of all the freedom fighters they have learnt in this chapter and stick them in their project book. Write a few lines about them.